Hello and welcome to Other Half Gaming. I'm Kirsty and this is Mobile Monday. So today we're going to be playing a game I've actually had on my phone for a while, but I'd kind of not played for ages. It's called Plague Inc. and it's really addictive. It's a bit different to the other games I've been doing. It's not quite a pick up and play game. It's a pick up and you sit down to play the game because it does take a while to play each round. Okay, so what we're going to be doing is we're going to be a virus, and we're going to be designing a virus that attempts to kill the entire world population. So that's going to be fun. So let's see if we can manage it. So I can't actually write the whole of Other Half Gaming as my virus because there isn't enough spaces. If you have a slightly upgraded version of this game, what you can do is you can actually add additional perks to your virus and extra genes. I've literally got the free version of this game, so I can't do that, and you can unlock additional genes and stuff to add in. So if you could really do enjoy this game, you can pump it up with those little extra bions. So I'm playing this on a Samsung. I've got this downloaded from Google Play Store. You can also download this from the Apple Store, and you can also download this from Steam. And they are all versions. You can get free versions, and then you can download a slightly more pumped up version that gives you more options to begin with. So I'm going to actually start by infecting the USA, because why not? My thought is it's a fairly heavily populated country. Quite a lot of people travel in the USA. So hopefully we can use that to try and infect as many people as possible. Okay, so what you can see down in the bottom left-hand side, bottom left-hand corner, is the DNA points. And you basically use those DNA points to try and hype up the different ways your virus can be transmitted and different ways of all the symptoms and things. So you can see we've got two people in the whole world infected with this. So we're not very, infectious at the moment. So we want to basically pop the DNA bubbles to get extra DNA points. So obviously as many DNA points as we can is awesome because we can then infect more people by making this virus more souped up and more beefy is the plan. So grabbing a load of the bubbles where we can here. So you will be able to see some bits of footage do speed up a little bit. It's just because I've just sped up little bits that don't feel a bit boring to watch. Like I say, this video is about 20 minutes, but it probably took me about half an hour, 40 minutes to play this entire bit of game. Just to give you a bit of an idea what this type of game is. So you sit down to play this game when watching a TV program, as opposed to you sit down to play this game at a bus stop or something else like that. Okay, so basically this is a hyper-realistic model of the world. So plan your strategy and involve your disease according to spending DNA points. So basically this is trying to simulate how an actual virus could actually infect the entire world population. So you'll see actually it's difficult for a virus to be able to do this because it has to have certain types of symptoms. It has to be able to transfer in specific ways. Otherwise it physically couldn't jump the way it needed to jump. And it needs to be it's pretty difficult for it to kill quite a lot of people without it having some uber symptoms. But then if you have too many uber symptoms, then you get caught really quickly. So, and then obviously you got the issue of things like healthcare. So you've got some countries like Africa have less healthcare in them, so the disease tends to spread a lot quicker. Obviously in places like the US, you've got the problem if it doesn't. You've got the issue of antibiotics and other medication, and also the medical funding there for research. So here, the strategy I'm going for here, and I found the strategy's worked in the past, is go for a type of virus that has really quick transmission, but don't go for something that has massive amounts of symptoms because that gets spotted really quickly. So you do need to be a little bit careful of that. I don't play this game that often, but when I do sit down to play this game, I really enjoy it. And actually it works really well on a smartphone because you're not having to do anything too fiddly. It's all really clear little buttons you can press. So here what I'm doing, I've just added an extra resistance against antibiotics. So that makes it slightly more difficult for it to have a cure developed for it. Because obviously you need to then be a bit more specific with the antibiotics that you're using to be able to treat this virus. Of course, if it's a virus, it's more the drugs rather than the antibiotics, because antibiotics against viruses don't work, which is why you can't take antibiotics for colds, because they're just against bacteria. Okay, so what it's saying here is we can press the country on the get additional information about the specifics in the country. So it's not killed anyone yet, but we've infected 104 or 150 odd people now. So we're going to just change the transmission a bit again, because obviously I want to start potentially infecting other people and merely kind of spreading it a little bit more. So I'm going to try livestock to get a bit more of a, so if it can get over to a different country, I can start getting, hopefully, a little bit more infection when it can take hold a little bit better in that other country, is the plan. So I really enjoy playing this game, and actually Dan really enjoys playing this game too. He doesn't play it that often, but it's when he starts playing it, he's then playing it for a couple of hours as well. So again, he's playing the mobile app on his tablet. So it probably does work slightly better on a tablet or a bigger screen phone, because you can then see what's going on a bit better. But I've got a Samsung 7 and that seems to be fine for me. And I was playing it on my Samsung 5 as well when I had that, and obviously that's slightly smaller but pretty much the same size, and that seems to work really well. So I think on an Apple iPhone it'd be good as well, because it's about the same size screen. So infecting thousands, so we've now got 6,000, so a massive hyper growth area and infectionness. Because obviously as each person gets infected, then they obviously infect like X amount of people, so the more people then, 20,000, that's pretty cool. Only got 3 DNA points though, so I'm desperate at this point for some more DNA points to try and soup up my virus a little bit more. Would be good. Trouble is, occasionally it randomly adds symptoms to you for free, which is like, oh yeah, the game's being nice. No, the game is not being nice, because it's adding a symptom to your disease. And the trouble with adding a symptom is then suddenly you have people can be aware of your disease. While there's no symptoms, people don't realise they have the disease and therefore don't really want to start making a cure yet. So I always go to jump straight in there and try and get rid of that as quick as possible. Or the perk is it does give you 2 free DNA points you wouldn't have got otherwise. So that's pretty useful. So getting some infection in Canada, that's pretty good. Just going to add something else to my transmission now. So I'm going to make the water, I'm going to hype up how well it can transfer by water. So things like planes, it can go better by planes now. It can also go better by boat. The problem we always find when me and Dan ever play this game is getting Greenland infected. Because I don't know whether it's partly because it's cold, partly because it's an island. It's really hard to infect those buggers with anything. So if you're like really concerned about surviving any sort of major world disease, I'm obviously not an expert, but I would say Greenland's a pretty good place to go if you're a bit concerned about that kind of thing. Although we're in fact more infectious than TB, but I don't think TB is a massive world disease at the moment, is it? I don't think. So, yep, we're getting Australia. World menu. Oh yeah, world menu. Cool. Yeah, so we can keep an eye on how it's infecting other people in the world and keep an eye on that. So let's grab some more DNA points. So you can see the red trails as well show where infective planes have come out of the country, which is good because then we're starting to infect Europe a bit more there, which is really good. Okay, so we've just added water too. Okay, and now Russia's infected. Yay! Obviously, Russia's quite a good country because there's quite a mix of like poorer populations and richer populations in there. So theoretically, that should take on quite a good hold, hopefully, over in Russia. But we've infected like 200,000 people, 200 million people now. So we're doing pretty damn well. Ooh, the Rio Olympics has been suspended. So obviously this has been updated at some point because that hasn't come up for me before. So that's been updated for me since the Olympics has happened. Okay. It's a bit more transition. So let's try and see if insects make any difference to this. I'm hoping that will affect like the poorer countries more, like South Africa, maybe Africa, maybe South America. Hopefully that will really help. Like, because any hot countries, hopefully, should be obviously more insects because of the heat. Would be my theory. So I've just also involved transmission by blood. So that's the same kind of way as how HIV kind of transmits between people. Obviously, poorer countries and things will have less cleanliness and stuff, and that seems to have really taken hold now. You can really see how different countries are becoming more and more infected. Just look at all those red lines going everywhere. And Okay, so let's add rodents in as well. So we want to try as many different infection routes as we can, and also I'm going to go third, hype up the air as well. So that really just hopefully will get it into places like Greenland, and when it gets to there, it will hopefully then affect people properly, which is what I'm hoping for. Okay, so that's like proper now. It's proper resistant to, really good at being transmitted by water and air. So hopefully that'll be good. So we've infected nearly half the world's population at this point, which I think is pretty damn good going. Ah, cool. We're making really good progress now. That was a massive chunk of extra on the pie chart there. This is what pie charts are used for in maths, just in showing how many people you've infected in the world. So basically, if you have a strong desire to become a megalomaniac, world-dominating person, this could be a really good game for you. It's really satisfying my requirements at this point in time. So you can see how massively red the world is now. Perk we've also got is no one's coming up with a cure. So you can see cure down in the bottom right hand corner is still 0%. So I've infected over half the world's population, and because I have no symptoms, nobody's looking. Nobody cares. Just removing the traits again, because nobody cares. And Greenland's still fine. Seriously. Ah! The perk is if you do buy the upgraded version, I put a price down in there, put in a note, because I can't remember how much it is off the top of my head, is you then get rid of the random sets of adverts on the bottom. And they can probably see I've obviously upgraded my kitchen recently, so I'm getting loads of kitchen adverts. So, and apparently you suffer through sensitive teeth, so that's exciting. But the world is like pretty much done, but Greenland just hasn't quite. It's starting to slowly become infected now, so you can see lots of red dots slowly starting to appearing. So we are actually making some progress, but obviously I really need that to finish doing stuff. What I probably should be doing actually at this point is the abilities of the disease. It might have been a better one to do than maybe the hyping up all the transmission. Maybe it might have slowed it down in terms of how quickly it transmitted, but that might have been a better long-term investment maybe. Because the trouble is, once it's done all the transmissioning and got everyone infected, I'm then a bit stuck because of how much points I've spent. So we will see, because once you'll see quick in a minute when I start buying a load of the symptoms and obviously increasing the symptoms up to try and kill as many people as we can, is you do end up spending 3 points really quickly. So like 78 points looks like a lot of points, but doesn't actually go that far because of what you need to buy. And obviously only every time you want to reduce a symptom, you don't get back the full amount that you've paid for it. So it is a bit of a pain that way, if I'm honest. So I'm trying to give people fever here, a bit of pneumonia type stuff. Cysts, basically you're trying to push your stuff so they get the stuff closer to the middle, because they're the most deadly, ideally. So, but obviously I'm getting a bit short of points at that point, because you've just seen how quickly I've spent like 70 odd points. And you're a bit like, This is the trouble. As soon as you start getting deaths from these things, you can see my cure suddenly started going up like 3-4%. And it's just jumps really, really quickly. And that's probably the part of the problem is I could have done with racking my abilities up to a slightly higher amount of drug resistance and genetic resistance, because that will stop it being so easy to research. But because I haven't done that, it's made it really hard, or really easy for them to make a cure, and that's a bit of a pain. But as you can see, that this is a really cool game just to play, and it is quite different. I think there's quite a few of these types of games about, but I really do enjoy this version of the game. I find it's really easy to use on the mobile. It's really fun just to sit and play. It's quite realistic, I think, as well. And what you can do is then once you've managed to defeat the virus, you can then be a bacteria. I don't necessarily know how that's a promotion, but yeah, you can be promoted to a bacteria, and then you can try and infect the world and kill people as a bacteria, which is quite cool. And so you've got this game does evolve slowly and become more and more difficult. So it's, if you're looking for something that's really challenging to play, I would actually really recommend this game as just something to have a go at. And obviously now the news you can see at the top is everyone's declaring national emergency, infection disease teams, more national emergency, healthcare program for the infected, everybody's dying. Oh my God, where has this thing suddenly come from? Ah! Although it does make you a little bit generally paranoid though, because you could think, actually, I've just made this virus, so nobody has any symptoms for ages. Obviously, it wouldn't actually, the whole thing suddenly wouldn't have a virus that has symptoms, where this one infects everybody and then clicks on all the symptoms at once, because I tell it to click on all the symptoms at once. Obviously, an actual virus wouldn't do that, because it just spread with the symptoms and then it'd have to re-spread again as the new mutated version. So it's not a massively accurate portrayal of how a virus would actually behave. I mean, the initial bit is with the transmission and all this kind of stuff. You get random quirks of evolutions that cause that to do that, but it's only then going to be that kind of type of thing from then onwards. It's not going to be that type of thing from the suddenly and then swap, and then everything's going to change. So I haven't actually destroyed anything yet. So we're infected everybody though, which is good. Nobody's healthy, yay! And I've killed over 1.5 billion people, so I'm at least doing my bit for world population, which has got to be good. That's got to be good. Yes, I'm still struggling a little bit with DNA points here, so I really want to get those 2 in the middle that I can't quite get. And those would properly start killing people really quickly. And I can't get to them because I haven't got enough points. And the trouble is now, because you've pretty much everybody's infected, you then can't do anything. So you've also got here with the blue planes flying about. Basically, they're the cure planes, because cure's now at 100%. So I've lost this game now, because people are being cured. So I'm not going to actually be able to make the human race extinct at this point, because people are now 9% cured. So there is going to be human race left after I've wiped out the majority of the population, which is a shame. But anyway, this has been Plague Inc. Downloaded from the Google Play Store, played on Samsung Galaxy 7. So I've really enjoyed playing this game. I really hope you've enjoyed watching it and you've been able to get a bit of a chance to have a bit of a see what it's about. And I really hope you give it a chance to download it and have it go. If you do, please feel free to leave a comment below, and we will see you on the next Mobile Monday. So don't forget to like, comment and subscribe, and thank you and good night.